think.
Wah, berbaju Melayu Dr. Akeem.
Alhamdulillah.
Menuju raya.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I'm still using the background of the list. I have to change the background.
It's okay, no
It's
problem.
okay.
We are live now.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Brother Hafizi.
Okay.
Change. I hope it works.
Yeah, let me start now. A'udzubillahi minasyaitonirrajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and good afternoon. Thank you everyone for joining a webinar of Research, Publications and Innovation Skills today. For your information, KICT is regularly conducting this webinar to enhance and sharing knowledge with regards to research, publications and innovation skills. Alhamdulillah, today we meet again in this sharing session on IIUM-UMP-UiTM Sustainable Research Collaboration Grant. As all of you know, the current UMP-IIUM Sustainable Research Collaboration Grant 2022 is already open and the deadline is on 31st May 2022. Okay, the purpose of having this webinar is to elicit experience and tips from the speakers who are grants recipient of IIUM-UMP-UiTM for year 2020 in order for us to prepare the winning proposal for this UMP-IIUM grant. So please reserve your questions during the Q&A session. Inshallah, today we have audience in two different platforms, which is Zoom, and this session is streamlined in KICT Media YouTube channel. So before we start our session, let's recite kita Al-Fatihah. Okay, I am Dr. Asmarani, your moderator for today's event. Before we start, there is some information pertaining to this webinar. Please mute your microphone during this sharing session. We will have around 1 hour presentation from the speakers, including Q&A session. If you have any question, just write them in the chat box area. You can ask the question during the presentation if the speakers allows, okay? Don't forget to record your attendance. The attendance link can be found in the chat box area. Alhamdulillah, in today's sharing session, we are honored to have Associate Professor Dr. Normi Sham Awang Abu Bakar and Assistant Professor Dr. Akeem to share their experience, knowledge and tips on writing a winning proposal of IIUM-UMP-UiTM Grant 2020. The IIUM-UMP-UiTM Sustainable Research Collaboration Grants recipient. First of all, let me share a brief profile of our speaker. Dr. Normi is a lecturer in the Department of Computer Science. Her research interest is software in testing, software quality assurance, software metrics, and blockchain-based software engineering. She secured numbers of grants in the year 2020, including the IIUM-UMP-UiTM grant. For the second speaker, who is also the IIUM-UMP-UiTM grants recipient, Dr. Akeem is currently an Assistant Professor and Academic Advisor at the Department of Computer Science in the International Islamic University Malaysia. His current research focuses on image processing and computer vision, especially in medical domains, natural language processing, as well as sustainable development and systematic innovation. He is a certified level 2 theory of inventive problem solving practitioner. Without further ado, I would like to invite Dr. Normi to start the session. Dr. Normi, please welcome.
Okay, Assalamualaikum. Thank you, Dr. Asmarani. Okay, Assalamualaikum and good afternoon, everyone. So today I'm going to share my experience applying for the IIUM, UiTM and UMP collaboration grant, okay, in 2020. Okay, and then perhaps later I can answer if you have questions regarding perhaps some of the things that or questions that you would like to know in order to apply for this grant. Okay, so in 2020, this grant was known as IIUM-UMP and UiTM Sustainable Research Collaboration Grant. And I think this year they changed to only IIUM and UMP. Okay, so and in 2020, the grant sponsor was from UiTM because we got the appointment letter from UiTM. Okay, so this year I'm not so sure. Perhaps maybe it's IIUM, but you can just apply and inshallah, okay, we can secure a few grants this year as well. Okay, so basically the criteria, so I'm sharing now is the criteria for this year's grant. Okay, so basically before this, we have another institution, UiTM, and now since it's just two, so the requirement, okay, the criteria for this grant now is changed only for this part, but the rest are the same. Okay, so for the first part, okay, so you need to assemble a team, okay, in terms of, okay, first PI, okay, PI and 2 co-researchers from IIUM. Okay, so you can get 2 researchers, okay, and previously 1 from UiTM, 1 for UMP, but now you can find at least 1. I'm not sure if you can add more, but we did have an extra member from UiTM in the previous year, so you can actually verify with RMC, okay, if you want to add more members. Okay, so altogether at least minimum of 4 members. Okay, 3 from IIUM and 1 from UMP. If you don't worry if you don't know anyone from UMP, because when we assembled our team, okay, before we did not have any actually the partner that we have in mind. So we had to go through the list given as well as recommendation by the network from UiTM and UMP. So we had to actually go through, okay, the list and approach them, okay, during the application of the grant. So basically it's like getting to know the whole team from scratch. Okay, so but alhamdulillah we managed to assemble a good team. Okay, so we had meetings a few times. Okay, and then and also at that time when we wanted to apply for the grant, okay, so we only have a few days because we actually aim for another grant. So since we did not get that grant, so we actually switched to this grant and we just reduce the scope. Okay, so that still doing the main thing that we wanted to do. Okay, later I'm going to share you the title and also some of the components in the grant. Okay, maybe you can try to later formulate, okay, your own problem statement, research questions and whatnot, because they are very particular. Okay, so even the second criteria, okay, so the all research project proposal should have a clear statement of the problem to be achieved or to be solved. Okay, so this is also important. So you need to really state, okay, clearly what is your problem statement, and then from there and later on work on your research objective, research questions and whatnot. So it has to be synchronized and it has to be fundamental research. Okay, so if you have development project or even some building prototype and whatnot, it's not suitable, but you can do fundamental research first. Okay, so but later if you have completed this project, you can extend to PRGS or other projects or grants that allow you to develop prototypes and whatnot, okay, to support the research. Okay, so at the moment for this grant is fundamental, okay, maybe similar to FRGS. Okay, and then you also need to state the impact. Okay, so we stated the impact at the beginning, since the beginning, so that once you read even the executive summary, so you can get what are the significance or the impact of this research to maybe the country, okay, or the area that you're in, okay, the research area and whatnot. So you can show that this has contribution. And also for the I think even 2020 and 2022 is the same maximum amount of budget. Okay, so for non-science and technology, 10,000 ringgit maximum, but for science and technology area, 20,000 ringgit maximum. Okay, so if you have, you know, maybe you have some proposals that you have, and then for other grants, but maybe more than 20K, but you have to reduce it to meet the maximum. And you need to also basically really make sure that your budget writing, or you know, the way that you build your budget, okay, requirement actually makes sense. Okay, so you don't put something that even when you know the evaluate the assessor read, so it doesn't make sense. This researcher is trying to use the budget for unnecessary things. Okay, so later I try to give some example of the budget that we use in our project. Okay, so the basic ones is the budget is limited, so I think should just go through to research assistant, okay, the GRA, and also publication. Okay, so perhaps not much on other things like traveling, buying equipment and whatnot. Okay, so basically the budget that are allocated are limited. Okay, so you need to really work the budget well. Okay, so that make it what they call it, reasonable. Okay, so that is one of those when you actually look at the criteria, so they actually be specific about the criteria, so you need to pay attention to what they want. Okay, so basically these are a few tips that I can share with you on from the experience applying for grants, and alhamdulillah I have managed to secure a few. Okay, so first of all, no matter what grant that you want to apply for, read the guidelines, because for example this grant, they actually specify how many team members from each institution that you should have. Okay, so and also specify that what they want to look at precisely is the problem statement. Okay, and also later research objective questions and whatnot will follow a clear problem statement, and also impact of your research to the country or to the your research area or to the society and whatnot. So that has to be emphasized as well. Okay, so impact is also important. So guidelines need to be carefully read. Okay, for example, how many output they should produce, okay, and what are the allowed budget, what are the budget that they will not cover. Okay, for example, in this research, overseas travel is not covered. Okay, and even overseas conference. Okay, so if even though I already faced this you know, problem when I asked them, I mean RMC, whether I can attend overseas conference online, just virtually. You don't have to travel, but still they're strict. Okay, if this research grant states that you cannot attend overseas travel, overseas research, overseas conference, so just comply, because otherwise you will not get your what do you call it, application approved. Okay, so read the guidelines carefully. And also when you prepare your proposal, okay, so you need to be clear about what are the research problems. So besides executive summary where you summarize your research upfront, okay, so they're going to look at your problem statement or research problem, whether it's really critical or is it already been, exhausted. I mean, people have been looking at that many times and whatnot. So basically, that's where they try to figure out whether your research is your proposal can go forward or can go to the next level or not. Okay. And then research objectives. Okay, so the research objectives must support your problem statement. Okay, and then it has to be in line. Okay, synchronized, and then also synchronized with research questions. Okay, so that there is know the flow of your proposal of your what you want to investigate. Okay, so I will show you later the example of my project's problem statement, so research objective. Okay, and then basically the next one, one important part is also the methodology. Okay, so according to some sources that actually frequently assess. Okay, so some of my friends who assess this kind of proposals. Okay, so most researchers when they go to the methodology part, it's not actually clear how it's going to answer your research question or support your research objective. Okay, if you want to basically come up with the plan, methodology that you want to use in your project. Okay, so this is also very important because methodology must be able to answer your research questions, research problems, solve your research problem and whatnot. Okay, so that is an important part to focus on, right? Some researchers, they just take a brief methodology, brief method that you're going to use, but it is good that you can explain clearly, okay, so that the assessor will know how are you going to conduct the research later. Okay, so whether you know, okay, the ways to basically complete the whole research, right? And this is also important. Okay, so in all the grants, make sure that you mention which area that you can contribute on. Okay, contribute in. Okay, for example, using the my STIE, okay, my STIE 1010, and the precise technology, innovation, and economy framework. Okay, this is also very important to highlight which area in the my STIE 1010 framework that you will cover, your research will cover. Okay, so that will become and I think sort of bonus point that they're gonna evaluate it based on the needs of the nation. Okay, so don't forget to quote this. Okay, which area that you're going to contribute apart from other impact in other policies and also the focus of our country is going, okay, too. So that will help to shape, okay, your the idea of how important your research is in the framework as the impact to the country. And as I mentioned before, okay, about the budget, so make sure that you put in a reasonable budget. So you know what's the maximum, since they have maximum here. So try to go for the maximum 20K, okay, and then try to put in, I think most chunk of the budget we go to the RA, okay, the research assistant, because for 2 years the duration of this grant is for 2 years, okay, so you need to adequately, of course it's actually not enough to pay the RA full payment, full fee, because we can actually budget for maybe the part-time, using the part-time amount, a part-time rate. Okay, so and don't and leave some behind for publication, of course. So you must have some idea of what journal that you're going to publish in. So balance between this. Okay, and you might not be able to allocate any budget for equipment or anything because of course because it's restricted, but go with how minimum can you minimum budget that you can apply for. Okay, so what are the important things that you need to achieve? Of course you need to achieve the KPI, and of course RA is also important, so need to balance, okay, on the budget part, right? And then and as for for the publication, okay, minimum publication, I think two journals. Okay, so it doesn't matter if you can go for the WOS is even better, but Scopus and even my site and ERA is also acceptable. Okay, so and they're not going, I mean, at least maybe you have Scopus, one Scopus and one my site is enough. Okay, but it has to be a journal. Okay, so and if you have conferences that will publish in journal, that is also allowed, but not overseas conference, even though you don't attend the conference physically, but even only virtually, but they will not allow that at all. Okay, so so that's the requirements of this grant. However, okay, if you have, I mean, opportunity, so this is maybe just extra point to add. Okay, if you have opportunity to get industrial grant, that will be better because they don't have no restriction on whether it's just a conference, overseas conference, or whatever that what kind of publication that you want to achieve. So you just need to meet their KPI, and then you can publish anywhere. Okay, so that is more flexible than I mean the grants that MOHI or the SOT, okay, can provide. But basically try to also find, okay, other options, okay, besides this MOHI grant. Okay, so basically these are the things you need to focus on when you write a proposal, because they want to see the flow clearly. Okay, I mean from the research problem, research objective, question, methodology, and also you know, things, the impact of your research. So that's the some points that I would like to share also, okay, to help you to focus on how to write, okay, this part of the proposal. And now I just want to share you the not all of the proposal that we developed for this grant, okay, but this is the title of our grant, okay. So the development of robust framework for the issuance of central bank digital currency in Malaysia. Okay, so we just aim to create a framework, okay, based on the experiences from another country as well as our environment, okay, in Malaysia. Okay, so whether it's possible to do it based on the infrastructure and whatnot. Okay, so this is our problem statement. Okay, so when the assessor read it, they need to understand why your research is important. Okay, and even we also include the impact, okay, for Malaysia. Okay, so this might not be a perfect problem statement, okay, but it works so far. Okay, so this is how we formulate our problem statement, and from the problem statement we came up with these objectives. Okay, So we want to, these 3 objectives. Don't give too much objective. I mean, list too many objectives, okay? Because you must be able to achieve the objective, okay, in order to complete the project. Okay, so based on our problem statement, so we formulated these objectives, and then from here we go into the details from to the methodology, the what do you call it? This is questions, and methodology also will outline how you're going to achieve these objectives. Okay, so that later when they read the methodology part, okay, so you can tie to how the methodology would help to answer research questions and support the research objective. Okay, so those are the things that we hope that we can, I can share with the rest, okay, of the participants who want to apply for this grant. Okay, so again, I read the guidelines carefully, okay, the do's and the don'ts, okay, so that you maybe become clearer of what you would want to write in your proposal, all right? Okay, so I think, okay, all right, I have 4 minutes more, but basically those are the important points that I wanted to share with the audience, and then if you have questions, we can do the answer question and answer in the at the end of the session. Okay, so I think that's all from me. Give back the floor to you, Dr. Asmarani.
Thank you, Dr. Normi, for the insightful presentation. It's really useful for us. Now we are going to have Dr. Akeem to give his talk. Please welcome Dr. Akeem.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah. I don't think I have any other thing to say since Alhamdulillah, Dr. Normi actually covered almost all the factors. I am very happy because my work is very easy. I don't have to say much. I just need to, maybe add some little perspective to it, especially for maybe international lecturers who may not, because that is the area that I think maybe I can add. How did I get my contacts and people who join? So maybe something very brief. So hopefully I'm not able to spend the entire time. Okay. Let me try to share my slide. Okay, so Dr. Asmarani, I think you can see my slide.
Yes, I can see your slide.
Yeah, okay, alhamdulillah. Yeah, so the session, this is the format of the grant, the number of the grant. Okay, so for the outline, I think I will be covering the introduction, also the how I selected my team, because I think I should highlight that, and then talk a little bit about the KPI expected. I think Dr. Normi already mentioned all this actually. So, but at least we talked about it. So this is the research. Okay, it's about framework for a digital framework for collaborative community transformation. Okay, so, and the motivation behind it, I think this was shared in the staff group last month. I think Dr. Moroni helped me to share, because I share some of my current research with. So I used to, I'm teaching currently, I'm teaching SDG, UNGS 1201. So some of the contents of the course is to look at what the Muslim in the past they have done and how they contribute to SDG. So when we came to this point, then when I read, read again about this concept, like Umar bin Khattab, he used to go around in the night looking for people who have problems. And if you see such scenarios in movies and so on, I see very interesting. People saying bad things about him, even though he's a very good leader. So they say bad things about him in his presence, not knowing that it is actually Umar bin Khattab. They tell him, we have a leader who doesn't know what is happening to us. So we are suffering here. He is the one that took the amana from the community that he wants to be the leader and so on. So when I got to that point and I read about some of the leaders of the Muslims, especially, I've read about Saudi and a few even in Sarawak when I was in UNIMAS, then I noticed that most times some of our leaders, okay, or majority, the problems in some of the rural areas, they don't know. Okay, so it is not easy for them because they have busy schedule. They have a lot of things to do. Of course, we cannot. We should give them excuses, but it's still their responsibility to do. Okay, so that was why I started to ask myself: is it possible to have something like a way by which the community can interact better with their leaders, okay, provide adequate information about their environment, what is happening to them, so that instead of being neglected, the leaders are actually informed of their problem. And apart from that, they can also track, because sometimes we can report problem, but not getting feedback or not being able to track the problem is also an issue. So that was why I said, okay, can we try something like this? So, so the first thing that's the first thing, that it's actually aligned with SDG and community development and community maybe transformation. So, like Dr. Normi actually mentioned just now, the alignment with MICE 1010 and SDG and all the focus areas were highlighted in the project. And I think maybe probably this is the reason why the project was approached. So the stage we have now is to look at the components that are necessary for the framework. So I'm going to talk about that a little. So we expect that every member of the community can report any problem that they find in their environment. Okay, so it may not be happening to them directly. It may be happening to somebody else, even if they are not able to. Maybe even if I'm passing through a place and I notice that this is a problem that need to be reported to the government, I think I should be able to do that. So when they are reported, it should be able to be tracked. And when the in-charge person, like let's say the government representative, if they find out, if we report to them, we want to see their response rates. Okay, the more they respond, the better their ratings. And so this is one aspect. So, and another thing is, even when we report, there are some things that it is not necessary that the government should be the one to do it. Maybe there are some community members who actually have the skill, the ideas to solve it. So they can actually volunteer to solve it. So we can rate them based on their contribution. So if a problem is reported and somebody said, I can volunteer to do this one, we give them rating based on their contribution. Okay, so that is community member. Also, the last part that we are looking at the moment is the community rating itself. If, for example, let's say in Gomba or in IIUM, let's pick IIUM, because this can also be used for students, can be used even in our university. So let's say we have students who volunteer for something and they are collaborative, or community who volunteer for something and they are very collaborative. Their ratings, their individual ratings can actually be used to rate their community that they are very supportive of one another. So this is the part that we are still looking at whether it is necessary. So this is the component that we have actually identified so far, and we are going to evaluate them, okay, based on feedback from the constituencies that we pick. So the general objective of the research, as Dr. Normi already explained just now, is that it has to be the research required here has to be fundamental. So I was a bit confused at the beginning, but eventually when I changed it to framework, I think that was why they were able to accept it. So if we have a framework, we are developing a framework, then it becomes a fundamental. Hopefully, if we have better fundings later, we can actually implement it and test it. Maybe we develop the system and test it in a few communities. Hopefully, inshallah. So the first one is to examine the components, okay, for the framework, and so that people can participate and report priorities to the government. And second one is to develop the framework and possibly so how the community members themselves can monitor the progress that they have within the community. I think because this is more of community development, so the alignment with the objective of, the aim of the grant, I think that was why it was approved. Hopefully, if it is community related. So the KPI, like Dr. Normi already mentioned, there are two publications. It could be in Scopus, ISI, ERA, or my site. Okay, so and the budgeting and so on. But the rest, because when I was filling the grant, I put a master student, okay, as part of my KPI. I think I have overpromised. It's not actually part of it. This is number one is the only required. Of course, number 2 and 3 is going to be part of number 1. I think so. So and number 3 and number 4 should be implied. If I have a master student and complete this work, I think it is already achieved also, but the time frame may not be actually achieved. So now quickly I go to the team members. Okay, so how did I get my team members? When we started, I was not really sure of how to get team members because I know these 2 universities we have to get. So what I did was I went to their website and started to search for lecturers in some of the areas, especially in performance, public administration, and performance and policy and quality. So when I saw Dr. Munira, and I actually emailed a lot of lecturers, actually professors, and I got responses from most of them. Some declined. Okay, they told me that as a particular professor who told me she is already retired, but she's working on maybe like contract, but she's going to leave in the next few months. That it's not going to be advisable that she joins the project. And we have a few others who also declined based on their schedule and so on. But at the end of the day, I got Dr. Munira, and she was very supportive. Okay, so she requested that we should have meetings and so on. So at the beginning, it was like that. And maybe, alhamdulillah, she was an alumnus of IIUM. So maybe that was why when she received the email, she was able to accept. Second one is Dr. Ziani. Okay, so after searching and eventually I got, she also responded and she was happy to be part of the project. So in the beginning, we were having discussion on how to proceed. As time goes on, I was looking for a research student and I was not able to get on time. So that was what actually the challenge that I have on the project. But we are still working on it. I have a few undergraduate students who are working with me. We're just doing whatever we are able to do. But currently, alhamdulillah, I got a new master student who just joined us this semester and appointed to actually do it fully as we will find. So one of the, I don't know whether this is useful or not, but one of the things I noticed that the research, the allocation for research assistant in the budget, which is actually the large chunk, is going to be my budget for research assistant is 1,200. 1,200 in 1 year. That is 1,400. So I was hoping that if I get a master's student is able to do that within 1 year, we'll be able to complete it. But the concern, most of the time, all the potential master student I will have got, they declined because they were thinking it doesn't cover, especially for international students, so it doesn't cover their tuition fee. So if this grant can be increased a little and to cover the tuition fee, I think we'll be getting, if we have this type of grant, we'll be getting a lot of master's students. There are a lot of them just graduating and they are willing to do it, but because of the requirement, it was not. But inshallah, I think alhamdulillah for getting this young man now, hopefully we'll be able to continue. I think that is generally everything I have. So if there is any question, specific questions on some of the areas, then inshallah I'll be able to enter it. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to share my experience. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you, Dr. Akeem. Right, thank you for both speakers, Dr. Normi and Dr. Akeem, for the interesting and fruitful information for this sharing session. The most valuable info was the tips shared by experienced recipients so that the other researchers can apply the same methods to produce a better proposal, inshallah. Thus, we can secure the grant, especially to the new researchers, inshallah. So now it's time for the Q&A session. So any questions on the sharing session? If you have the question, you can turn on your mic or you can drop your question in the chat box so that I can read it.
Assalamualaikum, Asma. Zazura here. All right, so questions here for both speakers. If I'm not mistaken, just now Dr. Normi did on some development on the framework as well as Dr. Akeem. So in the end of the research, do you have any evaluation for the framework? Thank you.
Okay, Tazura. In my case, in my project, we have one activity to do the validation, and we invite experts. We have experts from, because we're doing it for banking, IBF, and also one from industry.
Oh, so meaning that the validation involves the experts from
Yes.
the industry. Oh, I
Yes.
see, right. So what, if you don't mind to share, what kind of methodology for the validation part?
We will, once we complete the framework, we will get them to discuss with them whether it is sort of, it's more like interview lah, discussion.
I see, all right.
Yes.
All right, okay. Thank you, Normi.
Dr. Akeem, you want to add some more information?
Yeah, I think for the evaluation part, since we are actually dealing with community, Akmal is actually from Sarawak, and I've told him to pick some communities in Sarawak. So if we pick those communities, we need to have their join some of their social platform, and then we can share our evaluation after we have actually explained what we are trying to do with them. Some of them may be policymakers, for example, people working in the ministry and so on, that are familiar with how cases are reported. For example, when, let's say, emergency cases, but our work is not actually for emergency cases, okay? It's actually for general issues in the community, like bad roads, like maybe homeless and so on, things like that. So those people who are engaged in some of these things, because usually now, currently, it's going to be phone call. Okay, so what we are proposing is a way that we can actually report and track and get feedback and rate the response itself. Okay, so I hope that with the community and then the participants themselves, we can actually get, and especially if we are able to get people working in the ministry who can actually answer to help us assess the variables or the components, that would be very nice.
All right, thank you, Dr. Akeem.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Normi and Dr. Akeem. So I have one more question from the chat box from Dr. Siti Asma. Salam, does the master students need to be full-time students, and does he needs to graduate to be counted as KPI, similar to our FRGS?
Okay, I try to answer Dr. Asma's question. Okay, so if you want to use the word 11,000 GRA, the student must enroll as a postgraduate student. Okay, so he has or she needs to have matric card, matric number, because they need the picture of the matric card. Okay, matric number, bank account, and appointment. Offer letter. Okay, if the student just graduated and from bachelor degree and not even having offer letter yet as a graduate student, PG student, so you can appoint the student as RA, normal RA in the 29,000 as research assistant, but you need to use a different payment methodology. You cannot use the system because at the moment you can use the RMSB2 to appoint GRA, but if the student does not have any offer letter yet and matric number, okay, and even matric card, so everything has to be fulfilled before you can register them as GRA. Okay, and then if just graduated without all those documents yet, just use the RA, okay, and then use the RA rate, maybe not as much as GRA, okay, so the undergraduate rate. Okay, so hopefully that helps.
All right, thank you, Dr. Normi. So we have another one more questions from the chat box. This question from Dr. Morni. Salam, how the organizing of research been planned? For example, distributions of responsibilities.
Dr. Akeem, you want to answer?
Actually, I think most of the time, in collaboration, we're supposed to divide what each of the parties would do. But because in my case, people coming from other universities, okay, so especially they will guide on policy and the management part of the research. Okay, but for the direct work, I think it's still going to be on the PI. And then getting students and so on. Since I'm here, I'm hoping that the students should also be from IIUM. So that is. So the bulk of the work is also on the PI, but their area of expertise should be useful in order to shape the direction of the research. That was why I was looking for people in policy, in human development, and so on, when I was for people to partner with.
And in my case, we had several meetings with all members and discussed the flow of the research, the steps, what we can do, and then alhamdulillah we managed to publish one paper already, and then based on the contribution of all the members, including the external ones. So basically because the team was assembled based on expertise. So we have one from IBF and also from crypto currency area and whatnot. So everybody has their own contribution. So to come out, because the output is one of the KPIs publication. So we work together on that. Okay, so exactly the distribution of work, there's no clear cut, but we have a group, so we discuss there what to do and when we expect things to be done and whatnot. At the same time, we also employ a GRA. So GRA now the GRA is doing most of the work. But before we get the GRA, we have to do it ourselves. Okay, that's from me.
Okay, we have another questions. Okay, no, we don't have any questions more, but I have two questions to ask for the speakers. The first one, can we include the name of other researchers who contributed to the research, but their names not in the grant as co-author for the publications?
I think it depends, because at the moment when we just include the researchers that are in the team. So you might need to refer to RMC for policy. I'm not so sure about that. But you maybe you can ask the other members of your team if they can allow other outside non-members to join the publication. But maybe if the non-members contribute a lot, then why not? Maybe they can be added.
Dr. Asmarani, you are muted.
Yeah, so is it okay for the grant, for example, if all the team members agree, and then we can proceed? It's not problem for the grants itself?
The requirement is just to include all the members. Okay, so that is what you need to fulfill first. But then if you have extra, then the members agree, or the other members agree that you want to include that. It's just for the publication.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it shouldn't be a problem. But if you want to verify further, you might have to ask RMC lah. For policy. So I'm not so sure about the current policy, but we just follow what they have stipulated in the guideline.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Normi. One more question is, as stated in the guidelines, right? Only one applications per staff. Is the statement regarding the PI? Can we apply for example, can we apply the grant as a PI as well as a co-researcher for another grant?
Sorry, I think that is possible. If I apply for a grant, I'm the PI, but I cannot apply for two. Only the PI cannot apply for two. So if any of the co-researcher wants to apply for any grant, they are not PI, so they should be able to go ahead and apply.
Yes, I mean, if, for example, if let's say you want to apply as PI in one grant and in another grant as a co-researcher, that's fine. You know, I think the concern about applying for PI for multiple grants.
Okay, all right. That's good enough for my information. All right, so any questions so far? Okay, so Dr. Siti Asma, Dr. Morni said thanks, Dr. Akeem and Dr. Normi. Let me check from the YouTube. There is no question so far. So any questions so far? No? From the audience?
Nice.
Dr. Akeem, you want to include some of the information?
Actually, I think no. I mean, when in the KPI, like we said before, 2 papers, all the members should be in those 2 papers. But if other non-members like students, volunteers, I mean, I don't want to call them volunteers. If they join, I think it is reasonable to put their names too. Though maybe we need more clarification from RMC, Dr. Azura, or maybe provide more information. But I think there's nothing wrong if other people actually work with us and then they are part of the paper. But from us, really, what I know compulsorily is that the members of the team should be co-authors in those papers. That's why, according to their participation. That's what I had to it.
Yes, can I add something?
Okay.
I agree with Dr. Akeem. So basically, what the RMC would like to see is the names of the members, in the publication. So let's say if you want to include your GRA or your RA's name in the publication, there's no problem. And then please make sure that the publications you have acknowledged the sponsor. So that's the important points, in order for you to close your grant, so that they will count that as one of the output. Right, thank you, Asma.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Azura, for the beneficial information for us. Okay, so any questions so far? Okay, one more question from the Dr. Normi. During the preparation of proposal, how close the involvement of the core researcher? Maybe.
Oh, you mean, how the contribution of the researcher, other co-researchers? It depends. If you building the proposal from scratch, you might need input from everyone. But in our case, we already have, this is our, the team from IIUM, we are the ones that coined that topic. So we actually added the other members from other universities, and they have to agree on our topic because we invited them. But if you discuss together with them on what to do and what not, so I think it could be, everyone has to, you need to come up with a way to communicate, have meetings and agreements, and whether your team agree with other teams and whatnot. So depends on how you want to formulate the proposal. Okay, so probably you can, if the idea is contribution of all of members, then you need to have a discussion, many discussions on whether to agree. But PI normally will have the most of the work, but so far, alhamdulillah, the team actually help a lot. So if you want to have, not to have all the burden on yourself as PI, so you come up with a team that can help you, can actually work together with you, not just in the namesake only. Okay, so far maybe we just got to know the other partners in the other institutions, so they will just comply. If we call for a meeting, they also just okay join the, they willingly. They normally we don't have a problem with the commitment of the team.
Maybe I can just add, in my case too, I think it's similar to what Dr. Rami already mentioned. The proposal is almost ongoing, and then I was looking for people from other universities to incorporate, to invite into. So I was writing them, even telling them all the details of the proposals, and I have this proposal on this, but I need candidate from UiTM and UMP to be part of the research. So please, if you think this area is your area and you'll be able to contribute, kindly join. So those who responded, they were responding based on the content of the proposal. So it's actually the back like we already forward, and then we are looking for members. And I think it's because we are working against the deadline, because the deadline was, let's say, in a month, and then we need to complete everything before the end of the month. So the ideal thing would be that we find the members and then tell them the topic, and then we work together to develop the proposals together. But unfortunately, the proposal is ongoing. We don't want to miss the deadline, and then we want to get members. And only those people who actually were willing to join eventually join the proposal. So I think that's why I can just add. Maybe now, I think maybe it will be better if we continue to have friends, okay? Friends in different universities, collaborate with them a lot so that whenever we need any partner, any co-researchers, we don't have to search for too long to get them. Maybe, if it is possible. That is what I just like to have.
Thank you, Dr. Normi and Dr. Akeem, for the explanation. We have another questions? No, right? If no questions, okay, I just conclude what we have the sharing session today. So I can conclude that from the sharing from both speakers was that the statement of the problem must be clear enough stated in the proposal, right? So great, thank you to both speakers, Dr. Normi and Dr. Akeem. Inshallah, we are looking forward to having you again in the future. Thank you very much to the organizer, Office of Responsible Research and Innovation, and KICT IT unit for making this webinar successful. Thank you everyone for your participation in this webinar. We hope to see you again next time, inshallah. Let's end with the Tasbih Kafarah and Suratul Asr.
Thank you,
Thank you very much for having us. Okay, Jazakallah khairan for listening. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the very useful tips.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. As, maybe we can have photo session.
Okay.
Oh, photo session, huh? Okay, hold on. Do not leave yet. Can we have the photo session? Dr. Zura, can you have the photo session? I do not know how to have all together in one screen.
All right. Okay. Let me take the photo. Like 1, 2, smile, everyone. Okay, one more time, yeah. Okay. All right, okay. 1, 2, 3, smile. All right. All right, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Normi. Thank you, Dr. Akeem, and thank you, Dr. As.
For having
Thank you,
us.
everyone, for joining us today.
Thank you.
Assalamualaikum.
Salam.
Warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.